Questions and answers usually follow the presentation. True, this is the unpredictable part beyond your control, but it can also be prepared to a considerable extent because some features therein appear quite often. First of all, you already covered the important aspects in your presentation mentioned earlier, so you will not be asked about them anymore, or you will only be asked to elaborate more on them. Reversely, if you do not touch upon them, i.e. the state of your field and the literature, the methods, or the significance of your research, the chance is very high that you will be asked to elaborate on these aspects. Hence, be prepared to elaborate on the crucial elements of a presentation, of a thesis. Although you sit in front of senior scientists, maybe even famous ones, and some of them, including your supervisor, may know the larger academic field, be aware that you are the expert of your topic and you know the most about it. So there's always and already an important implication. Many examiners will not ask or challenge you on the empirical content of your work, but rather on its internal consistency, its theoretical or practical significance, the standards of your academic field and how your work relates to it, or its relation to neighboring or other fields, other examples, other theories, you name it. In this connection, I see 5 main types of questions. Those simply testing your knowledge and those seeking clarifications on certain aspects of your thesis. The next 3 are usually more challenging. These are questions on the significance or the value added of your work, questions pointing at real or perceived contradictions or inconsistencies in your thesis, and finally questions on its relations and implications for other fields, theories, empirical examples, etc. One could use the term transfer questions for this type of questions. These are questions requiring you to apply something you've learned already to a new case or situation. If you search the internet a bit or ask colleagues, you will read or hear a lot about standard questions asked in PhD defenses. It can be indeed a good exercise to prepare answers to those questions in advance. Although they might not be asked at all, they may train you to look at your work from different angles and think of relations and implications you have not considered. Thus, they might help you indirectly to react much better to other or similar questions. Now, how to react to critique of your work? Before we tackle that question, let me remind you that weaknesses are just normal, just as there's always something well done or of potential within a thesis. Therefore, even if you are yourself not fully convinced of your own work anymore, or in case your self-criticism pulls you down, try to make yourself aware of the strengths of your work. Ask your colleagues if you don't see these strengths yourself, and ask your friends who might help you to see them. Now, how to react to a question challenging and questioning your thesis, maybe even fundamentally. Of course, you will think about any critique you receive and assess at first whether it has substance. Is it maybe just founded on standards applied to your work which you do not share and which you can refute for good reasons? Is it just based on superficial reading, a misunderstanding or a lack of knowledge of that person? However, if you think your critic has a point, there's no reason to shy away here or just retreat to what you have written or said before. In fact, it can be an opportunity to demonstrate one of the most important skills examiners would like to see. That is, your ability to think critically and constructively. And thereby you can deflect some of the critique and even turn it into a productive conversation on your work. For instance, you could think of a reaction along the following lines. You are right on this. I could improve my revisions, I could improve this in my revisions or in a subsequent research project, e.g. by doing XYZ. Or if this is applicable, thank you for making this point. I thought of it myself already in a similar way or in a different way, and I came to this or that conclusion. If you are not alone with a detected deficiency, you could make this explicit. Your critique points at a problem of many or some analysis in the field, including mine, and tackling it would require step A, B, C. But now, what if you don't understand a question? This must be not your fault. Some examiners talk for long and do not come up with a clear question. In such a case, ask for a precise question if you did not hear any. If there was one but you did not understand it, reformulate it in the way you understood it. If that's not possible, ask for clarification or for reformulation if need be. But now, what if you do not know the answer? Now, there are different kinds of not knowing and each suggests a different way to deal with it. First, pause for a while, ask for a minute to think if the answer is just not clear enough for yourself and requires some thinking. No problem to do so. If you're not sure about the answer, or if you do not have the whole picture for coming up with a full or good answer, make this explicit and let the audience hear how you think about the question on the basis of what you know and your assumptions. Remember, they want to see that you are a critical thinker. Show this. If you really and simply do not know, just say this. From my experience, this is always better than talking nonsense, and even worse, if you yourself realize suddenly that you talk nonsense, this could make you only more nervous. So better move on to the next question, which might suit you much better. However, if you get the idea for an answer to a question only later in the defense, you could just come back to it. Sorry, if you allow, I would like to come back to question XYZ. Let me expand on that, etc. Coming back to my proposal to organize a rehearsal, you might want to practice the question and answer part with your peers and friends in that kind of rehearsal. At best, do that with peers and colleagues who know your work. They might already come up with some critical questions, and even better, they might help you to develop some approaches to answering them. And finally, write down the questions you receive. This gives you first a little time to think, and you can make sure that you answered the question, and you can refer to it if you are carried away for some reason. Also, some of the questions or comments might be relevant and important for the revision of your work later on.